Hey guys, Bugcat7 here. Okay, it is Thursday, December 5th, 2019, and I want to thank you for visiting the Stonewall Research Channel here on YouTube. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Alright, guys, well, I'm going to take a little break from the Giants or any other topic related to that for a moment and talk about missing 411, a possible solution. And I've always been interested in Missing 411. If you don't know about it, it's these books written by this ex-cop from California, David Paulides, and actually, here's a documentary that he made with his son, and you can see on YouTube for free. And I would highly recommend it, although he just doesn't go over a lot in these, but the stuff he does go over is very interesting. Of course, you can see more on his website, Can-Am Missing Project. So you can see more on here, and he's written more than several books on it. First it was geographic, then it was specific cases, hunters and urban areas. So it's not only the national parks and forests and whatnot, it's also from urban areas. So apparently it's really could happen anywhere. And he tries to track down all these profile points and whatnot. He's trying to figure it out, and David Paulides never says what he thinks it could be because he says he doesn't know, and I believe him. He doesn't know. He's just, pointing out all these things. This common profiling is just a complete mystery. But so anyway, the girl was talking about birds and whatnot, and then the interdimensional stuff started coming into play, and then UFOs, But I may have mentioned it before, but I covered a couple of videos that mentioned things that live in space, okay? And that was based on what I know about Trevor James Constable and these books that he wrote. One of them is They Live in the Sky. This other one, The Cosmic Pulse of Life. Okay, and you can see one of the pictures from my videos there and other things that were photographed being in the sky. So this is where I got this idea from. I think it was like 1999 or whatever when I ran into this stuff, and it seemed right to me because all the reports on UFOs that I've ever heard of, we think these things were like living creatures. I don't know why. Maybe it's because being brought up on Star Trek or whatever, and things that live in space. This is a common theme with science fiction. It's not an unusual thing or whatever, but because, you've heard the History Channel and whatever channel, PSYOP, government-controlled, government-approved PSYOP about Little Green Man and Gray Man and everything, that's all you know about, okay? There's a couple of researchers who are tuned into this guy Constable's work, and I heard one of them mention that these things that live in space, all right, have extremely powerful brains, extremely powerful minds. They can project their power through their minds, okay? It could be like dolphins. Dolphins are extremely intelligent creatures. People think they're as smart as humans, okay? They can problem solve, empathy. Octopus, another weird looking creature or whatever, but here's one, open in a jar. Never saw a jar. Wasn't trained to do it or whatever, okay? And fish camouflage, okay? I went through this in my bioluminescent and bioelectric and biomechanoids video. I was trying to talk about some of these things and didn't get into it much, but counter illumination is another one of these things. Here's the firefly squid who projects on the bottom of his body what the ambient light is through the water, okay, on the bottom of his body to make him less susceptible to prey, okay? So I'm thinking these things that live in space are predatory. Some of them. I often hear Peter Davenport from the National UFO reporting site there on Coast to Coast. Whenever he talks about UFO reports, I've been saying for years, since I've been hearing UFO reports, it sounds like it's acting like an animal. Okay, so one of these researchers said they have extremely telepathic minds. Okay, this is how they communicate in space, but they're capable of trying to. Well, they attempt. He thought that they're attempting to communicate with us. But because they have powerful minds and their abilities, I guess when they get their prey, this neural neutralizer. Peter Davenport's over reporting these swarms of red ones against green ones, and they're shooting little beams at each other, okay? Or it could be infrasound, like the tiger's roar that paralyzes. You talk about people with sleep paralysis and UFOs, telepathy and UFOs, between Bigfoot and telepathy and UFOs. All these things have been postulated, okay? So this guy was saying that these things that live in space have extremely strong telepathic minds. They have big brains, like orcas, for example, okay? They attack their trainers, okay? They don't eat them. They just like to kill them, but they're just as intelligent. Okay, extremely intelligent animals. Okay, so these things could be extremely intelligent. Okay, when they snatch the people, okay, they're camouflaged. Okay, they have the ability to camouflage. And this people, he was reporting on Coast to Coast, saying about how some hunters or something saw like a glass-like sort of image in the distance. Okay, and a couple of times they're talking about the Predator. Look, Predator, guys. Okay, this is a Hollywood run psyop and truth nugget that they're trying to give to you in the movie Predator. Okay, it's not that the Predator has two arms and two legs and has armor and can fight like a man against Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it's the UFO that's the Predator that has that ability. They're trying to give you the truth. They know all about UFOs. They know that they're animals, okay? They know that they single out these people. They know all about David Paulides' research. They know exactly what it is. These creatures are singling out these people. These people are in a certain frame of mind, whether it be a childlike or somebody with disabilities or some problems or whatever. And people of high intelligence, apparently their brain wavelength is on the right thing. And the researcher was saying about how these creatures, when they can paralyze you when they attempt to communicate with you. And can your brain make sense of these things? And this is why he was saying people report being abducted and all these other things that go on, experimented on. The things are probing us. Our brains don't know their brain is overpowering our brain. We don't know what to make of how they're trying to communicate this introduction here or whatever. They're highly intelligent, but more like dolphins or predatory animals, and they're snatching these people. And I've heard other people comment on some of the 411 missing to see if the people were suffering of altitude effects and cold and altitude effects. Think about it. If these things are like dragonflies, I've discussed it on this channel before. Dragonflies can change their direction at full speed instantly at 30 miles an hour. A little dragonfly. Okay, if that was like plane size, it would be like hundreds of miles an hour. Thousands of miles an hour. On ratio, thing can change its direction. So these things are snatching, have ability. They have mouths. They can chew things. They're probably eating each other and preying on each other in space, like the diatoms in the ocean. Okay, and the other creatures, microscopic creatures that live in the sea and fresh water, and again, uh, astronauts train in water. That's how they train in a neutral buoyancy laboratory for their space missions or whatever. They put them in this neutral gravity situation. You see, it's the closest thing to it, and that's how they train NASA astronauts, okay? Things that live in space. Even Carl Sagan. Listen to what Carl Sagan said, okay? So you can imagine plankton-like organisms called sinkers and balloon-like creatures called floaters living in the atmosphere of Jupiter. Okay, so Trevor James Constable and me and other researchers are not so crazy. Okay, Carl Sagan is talking about Jupiter, but we're talking about right here, and like I've been talking about on my channel. Okay. And once that researchers said that they had these extreme, they have to communicate in space, so they communicate telepathically, but their minds are very strong. They can use their minds also as a weapon, just like these animals, okay? Like the tiger uses infrasound to paralyze. So these things may be using infrasound, and people have thought about that. Here's an article by Nick Redfern where he discusses about the sounds that UFOs make, okay? That the infrasound can be involved with some of these things, okay? And cause all kinds of hallucinations, okay? There are far more than a few reports on record where witnesses in close proximity to Bigfoot have reported feeling inexplicably terrified, nauseous, confused, disoriented, dizzy, lightheaded, physically unable to move, even before they have seen the creature. These things also may have infrasound, using infrasound, okay? And that's why I was saying Bigfoot and the UFOs have some sort of telepathic relationship. Not me. Researchers have said this. I'm just people are guessing at these things and brainstorming and thinking about it. But I say that these things are alive. Okay, just like Constable said, they're alive. They act like animals, doing all these things. The telepathic minds, they try to communicate with us. We don't know what to make. Our brains can't make sense of it. We're paralyzed, like in sleep paralysis. We can't move. We go up into Never Land while these things are probing us and everything. And that's why these people in the forest, that's why they rarely ever hear screaming. The only time they hear screaming, I believe, is when these things materialize for a second, and these people realize that some creature is gonna do something to them all of a sudden. So the few times they hear somebody scream, but the reason why they never hear anybody scream because the people are neutralized. They're hit with infrasound, just like the tigers do, okay, or what Redfern is talking about here, okay, with the infrasound, okay. So the sound of UFOs he's talking about here and the witnesses and about actual accounts, okay? So, most fascinating was the God had the overwhelming sensation that his mind was being flooded with information from an intelligence aboard the UFO that revolved around mankind's misuse of atomic energy, something that he perceived was a great concern to those inside the craft. But there was nobody inside the craft. It's the creature. Maybe the creature is aware of it. The creatures are intelligent, okay? Like dolphins or orcas. What do they know what it is? They don't like it. That's all they're trying to communicate. But these people our brains don't have no idea what they're trying to communicate to us. They're speaking in another language. Their brains are more powerful than us. People are paralyzed and all these other things, sleep paralysis. It's because they're paralyzed as part of their predatory